Unit 11, page 1. So to start this unit on ecology, let's take a minute and just identify which of these pictures is living and which is not. All right, so let's review our answers. The first picture of the clouds, is that living or non-living? You should have said not living. Even though clouds do move around, they're not made of cells, they can't reproduce, so they're not technically living things. How about the seeds? Hopefully you said living. Seeds, remember, come from a tree or a plant, which is a living organism. They're composed of cells that have to maintain a balance called homeostasis in order to stay alive. How about the rock? Non-living. Good. And the sun? Even though the sun heats up and it does have energy, it's not living. Remember, a sun can't reproduce, it's not made of cells, and it doesn't have to maintain a homeostasis. How about water? Water is also a tricky one because of the movement and the fact that all living things do rely on water, but it's not living. Fire, same thing, not living. And the final picture is red blood cells, which hopefully you remember are living things. They make up human beings as well as many other organisms. All right, so in this unit we're going to talk a lot about ecosystems, and just to get a definition out at the very beginning, ecosystems are all living and non-living things in any particular environment. Here you see an image in the Arctic. You have a seal and a polar bear and a fox and some birds. You have a jellyfish and a starfish, some zooplankton, very smaller organisms, some algae down here. You've got big ice, water, there's clouds in the sky. So there's lots of different factors in this environment. However, some of them are living, like the animals and the plants, and some of them are not living, like the water, the ice, the clouds, the sky. And in this particular lecture, we're going to hear about the differences between biotic and abiotic factors. So the first word we'll talk about is called biotic factors. And we just define that by saying all living things. So anything that's living is considered a biotic factor. Examples include plants, animals, fungi, microorganisms, anything that is technically alive. So in that very first picture when we started this lecture, the red blood cells as well as the seeds are considered biotic factors. The word bio, the root word, is life. So you can see that bio is in different words like biology, biostatistics, biography, biotechnology, biosphere, biomechanics, and biotic. So these are words that include bio because they're all related to life. Examples, again, we have some sort of a plant. This is a mossy plant. We have a fungus or a mushroom growing on the tree. Also, larger animals like cattle or cows. Abiotic factors are sort of the opposite of this. So the definition of abiotic is just non-living things. Examples include air, water, soil, temperature, wind, a source of energy, which is primarily the sun. And anytime we have a as a prefix or an before a word, so we have abiotic, we know that biotic means living, but abiotic means not living or without life. So anytime you see an a as a prefix for a word, or many times, it means without whatever the word after it is. Some examples are atoxic, amoral, abiotic, amusia, to give a few. Examples of abiotic factors: fire, light, rocks. So now let's think about this. What could happen to this ecosystem if either abiotic or biotic factors aren't there? Now, if we look at the image here, we can tell that there are arrows connecting the abiotic factors up at the top, so the sun, the rain, and the rocks or the mountain. They have effects on the biotic, the living things. So living things like plants or animals, even microorganisms. The abiotic factors affect them. So if we got rid of the biotic factors, they might not be able to influence the abiotic factors. But primarily, the abiotic factors are really influencing whether or not the biotic factors can live. So for that last part of the table, if you want to write one big answer, you can do that because they both relate to each other. So biotic and abiotic factors rely on each other. So if one is absent, the entire ecosystem will be affected. Some organisms could even die or go extinct without the other factors present. Hopefully, by the end of this lecture, you now understand biotic and abiotic factors. So what we'll do, just to recap, is to summarize. On your paper, it says summary, label the following terms as either biotic with a B or abiotic as A. So take a moment now and see if you can identify if those words are biotic or abiotic. You can pause the video at any point so you have an opportunity to do these. Great, let's check your work. So for biotic, you should have a whale, fish, paper, because it's from a tree, wooden ruler, also from a tree, a corpse was once alive, snail, steak, remember a steak came from a cow, pork chops, lived its life as a pig, salad is a plant, bread, the wheat is also a plant itself, hair, fingernails, cotton, wool, and grapes. Those are all biotic factors. The abiotic factors include a clock, water, glass, aluminum, sand, clouds, pipe, gold, plastic, and air. At this point, to check for understanding, write 2 insightful questions and their answers in the boxes at the bottom of the page. Think about what you might ask someone to see if they really understood what this lecture was about.